Okay, I wanted to just hit a quick video up about the big Project Scorpio reveal from Microsoft today, and specs reveal, so to speak, and maybe bitch slap some stupid NEOGAF Sony bots that are running interference as usual for Sony. As far as the specs, hold on, let me turn my fan off. As far as the specs, I have to say they are good, but they're not amazing. They're not incredible. To be honest, they're on the low side of what I would have expected. But but I don't want to change it into, well, they're disappointing or something like that, because they're definitely not. But a lot of people before the reveal were speculating about AMD's new Zen CPU being in there. And from some of the hype, you would have thought they were upgrading the GPU as well to maybe get 7, instead of 6 teraflops, maybe it was going to come in 7, 8 teraflops, who knows? From all the kind of breathless speculation, some people were kind of hinting, big upgrades are coming, this kind of stuff. None of that happened. It came in right at 6 teraflops. It's interesting how they did it. They mostly did it with the clock. The thing is clocked really high, 1172 megahertz, as we see here. And they mostly do it through cooling. The other thing is the CPU's Jaguar. I mean, they're never going to frickin' admit it. They're never ever going to admit it. But they're Jaguar. You can tell by the clock's 2.3 gigahertz. Very close to the PS4 Pro clocks at 2.1. The Xbox One clock's at 1.75. So it's just the same as the Pro, but it's coming out a year later, so they're able to get another 200 megahertz out of the Jaguar clocks. And they say, there's big custom work and all that. Bullshit, There may be a little bit here and there, but it's nothing substantial. They're Jaguars, I guarantee it. They just don't want to come out and say, yeah, it's Jaguar, because everybody will go, those Jaguars suck. So they're just going to say custom x86 cores so that they don't have to admit anything. 12 gigabyte GDDR5, very nice, better than the PS4 Pro. Memory bandwidth, it's 256-bit bus, so you get 326 gigabytes a second of bandwidth. So yeah, in the sense that it's everything it was cracked up to be, it's good. In the sense that it wasn't, some of these pie-in-the-sky hopes. There was no Zen CPU. There was no massive upgrade of the GPU. Then it wasn't the greatest reveal, I guess. I'm happy with it. It is what they said. I assumed, though, it would be a Vega GPU, and from what we're seeing, it's probably not. It seems to be like it's still probably based on Polaris. It's probably about on PS4 Pro level. It probably doesn't have all the fancy new stuff that the upcoming AMD Vega chips have, which is a little disappointing. I guess they probably did all this for backward compatibility reasons. I'm really not even sure, since Vega's coming out soon, and I don't know why, since Scorpio's not coming out for 6 months, I don't know why they didn't just grab Vega. I'm not sure what their reason was. Maybe, I really don't know. Maybe Vega didn't present a substantial advantage. Maybe the timing wasn't there, that they were absolutely positive they could get Vega in there. Maybe the cost, could have been some sort of issue. But yeah, that's what we have. No huge upgrade. The hard drive 1 terabyte, that's nice. I'm glad they didn't start with a baseline of 500 gigabyte. And that it comes with 4K Blu-ray, that's nice. And an internal power supply, all that. I guess if I'm a little disappointed in anything, it's how they arrived. Like I said, they basically just arrived at these high number of flops. They're a very high clock. Very high clock for a console. So they only came in with 40 compute units, 40 CUs, which the PS4 Pro has 36. So they only have 10% more CUs than the PS4 Pro. Look at it that way. The reason they have 40% more teraflops is because the Scorpio GPU is clocked at 1172, and the Pro is only clocked at 911. And the article on the Digital Foundry goes into how they really engineered a great cooling solution, showing it here. So it's all about vapor chamber cooling, blah blah blah, similar to the setup seen on the high-end GTX 1080 PC graphics cards. So they basically achieved this engineering feat through high clocks. And the best way I'd put it is the GPU is still kind of narrow. So it's fine, but I don't know. I might have preferred it to be wide than narrow a little bit. Like what everybody assumed was going to happen was they were going to do like 64 CUs, way more than the PS4 Pro's 36, but just clock it at 900 or something, and then you get to your 6 teraflops. So yeah, I mean it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other, but I guess it doesn't really matter. It's fine. I guess that the wider version would have just allowed, maybe if they were planning on any upgrades in the future, they could have just clocked it higher later. As is, they won't have a lot of clocking headroom. But I guess thinking, the more I think about it, the more it doesn't matter how they get to where they got. Wider doesn't present any intrinsic advantage. Now I will say one thing that's kind of bugging me is that Sony could go out and clock the PS4 this high too, because like the key thing you gotta remember, they're talking about 40 CUs on the Scorpio, 36 on the Pro, PS4 Pro. So you could clock the PS4 Pro high enough where it gets to like maybe 5.5 teraflops. If you clocked it the same 1172 megahertz as the Scorpio, you'd get to something like probably 5.5 teraflops. Whereas the Scorpio's sitting at 6. You'd get close, is the point. I think it would definitely behoove Sony to do that. It wouldn't cost them any R&D. All they have to do is clock the shit higher. They wouldn't have to redesign the system. They wouldn't have to make a big deal out of it. Because that's money. You think, oh, just do this. It costs a lot of money to like make a console, to design the motherboard, to prototype all that stuff, to actually put it in silicon. You're talking about months and months. Whereas a upclock is simple, everything's already designed, everything's already done, just upclock it, clock it higher, so I think Sony could do that easily. They would have to redesign the cooling to be more similar to the vapor chamber that the Xbox has and all that, but that's, again, that's like the heatsink. You can just plop a new heatsink on there, maybe a new plastic shell on the outside, bigger, to make room for a bigger heatsink, All that stuff's easy. It doesn't cost a lot of money like redesigning a CPU or a GPU. So I would think, I hate to give Sony the idea, but they could pretty easily, probably in maybe a year or something, come out with a 5.5 teraflops, let's say PS4 Pro 2. It still wouldn't be as powerful as Scorpio, so you might say, why bother? But it would be a lot closer, and you could just muddy the waters where, yeah, Scorpio's better, but it's not a big deal, instead of it being a bigger deal like it is now, And the software probably, you could Ubisoft could come out with their new game, and it could be basically the same on PS4 Pro 2 and Scorpio, for all practical purposes. Once you get to, let's say there's 20% difference in power between two systems, you're not going to see anything close to 20% difference on screen when you're talking about this slapped together multi-platform software. It's only the exclusive software that's even going to think about taking advantage of stuff like that. So, yeah, I think it would really behoove Sony to do that. But I don't want to give them any ideas. Next thing I wanted to get to real quick, though, was I do like the CPU clocks clocked up at 2.3. That's nice. I mean, it's baby steps, but compared to the 1.75 of the Jaguar, you're getting, you're getting what? Another 550 megahertz. Not bad. You need that. So I like everything about the system. Good, powerful. I wanted to slap down a few NeoGAF Sony bullshit fanboy comments, though, because these fuckers are so dumb. I can't stand reading their bullshit. One of the ones I just saw was some fucking bullshit about, well, Xbox don't have no games because, wow, Sony just came out with Horizon SJW. Oh, Microsoft came out with Halo Wars 2 also, but that doesn't count. Only Sony came out with a game. Microsoft didn't come out with one, so obviously Sony has tons and tons of exclusives, and Microsoft has jack shit. You know, that's the bullshit these Sony fanboys. Even now, for the last 3 years, Xbox has had way more software than PS4. In 2014, 15, PlayStation 4 didn't have jack, and Xbox was coming with Halo 5. There was a year they had like Halo 5, Forza, and something else. I think it was that Insomniac game, Sunset Overdrive. Yeah, they had like 3 games, and Sony had fucking Drive Club one holiday. I don't remember if it's 2014, 2015. So they had one driving game versus 3 big Microsoft games. And nobody was sitting there with all this, oh, Sony has no games, Sony's doomed, what is going on? Microsoft has so much first party, Sony doesn't have shit. No, they weren't saying all that shit, but now that it's reversed a little, they're saying all that shit. You know, that's the biasness of these Sony fanboys, you know. Oh, what is, you know, it's this thing, this idea like that Microsoft is somehow in crisis because, you know, Sony had one fucking game, basically. I mean, I know they had Neo and Nier Automata, but 90% of people don't give a shit about those niche titles. They're basically just basing it off of Horizon, which nobody wants to mention that Microsoft had a game out to combat Horizon, Halo Wars 2. You know, nobody says that. Nobody, you know. Oh yeah, so this dumb shit on NeoGAF was saying, oh, well, Microsoft doesn't have any games, that's the real problem. It's like if, I forget what he was saying, like, but he was like, it's like if you were starving and to fix the problem, somebody gave you a brand new Camaro. You know, as if, you know, what we need is software and Microsoft is just giving us new hardware and that's not going to work. You fucking moron. You realize PS4 Pro or PS4 outsold Xbox One for like the first 2 years, and PS4 didn't have fucking shit as for software. You know, like I said, there was that year that Sony didn't have shit, and Microsoft had everything that holiday. And I don't remember if it was 2014, 2015. Microsoft had way more big games, and Sony still outsold Xbox that holiday. Do you know why? Because they have better fucking hardware. So stop your fucking shit, you dumb neo-gaffers. Better hardware trumps software every fucking day. And the next point, and you know that from how the PS4 has been outselling Xbox this whole time, whether the PS4 had more software as they think they do now, or they had much less as they had for the last 3 years. And then, yeah, so stop your bullshit, NeoGAF, you fucking disingenuous morons. And then the next thing I was going to say was, oh yeah, let's just sit there and say, well, you don't have software. You know, these fucking NeoGAFers, they love to talk like exclusives are the only games that exist, and they don't realize that 99% of games that people fucking play are multi-plats. So when you sit there and say Xbox One doesn't have any games, you're talking about like one exclusive that PS4 may have. Whereas people, what 99% of people are playing is the Ubisoft games, the Call of Duties, the Battlefields, the Maddens. You know, so it's fucking bullshit to say Xbox doesn't have games. If Xbox didn't have a single exclusive, it would have more than enough for people to play forever, you know? So stop the fucking bullshit. And just having the best versions of multiplats is another huge thing. Hasn't PS4 been lording that over Xbox for the past years? You know, 3 years? Oh, we got the best multiplats. Well, now Xbox has the best multiplats, so go, you know, suck on that. That's like every game is better on Xbox, so you don't need exclusives. Now, granted, Microsoft has a lot of exclusives, despite what NeoGAF will tell you. But, you know, even if they didn't have any. So, yeah, I just wanted to counteract that bullshit I saw on NeoGAF. They make me so fucking mad with their bullshit lies. You know, Sony didn't have fucking games for 2 years, and they still outsold. You know why? Because they had better hardware. And it's not like MS doesn't have a lot of games anyway. And it's not like mostly what people play aren't multi-platforms. The key, you know, point to that was that recently in UK, Ghost Recon Wildlands outsold Horizon. And Horizon is like the only thing talked about in the internet gaming media because of the Sony bias. And it got 50 billion times more hype than Ghost Recon Wildlands. Yet Ghost Recon Wildlands outsold it. That shows you what people play. It's not fucking Sony exclusives. It's not exclusives at all. To a large extent, it's multi-platforms. You know. So, that's my video. Appreciate you listening. I'll probably have another one or more because I have a lot to say on this. So have a good day.